Hello everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Wedding Wednesdays.
Why do you sound like that? As he said, welcome back to Wedding Wednesdays. This is Mari and Kenny. You forgot our names. And today we're talking about guest list and related items. So figuring out your guest list is one of the first things that you should do in the wedding planning process because pretty much everything else will depend on that number. Looking at guest lists for our wedding pretty early on, and I think now we're at the point where we've got it pretty squared away. I think we've got our final guest list.
We have the luxury of having the Puerto Rico small wedding and then the Chicago wedding, which opens up where we can invite a larger amount.
An A list and a B list. Pro wedding tip.
I just learned about this.
Through our own wedding planning process, yeah. So if you're also just learning about it, essentially your A-list is going to be your must-haves, your VIPs, the people who must be at your wedding no matter what. You cannot imagine the day without them being there. Now your B-list is going to be people who you also would love for them to come and be there, but they're not as high up on the list as like your mom, your dad, your siblings.
I think our number is at like 65 to 75 maybe.
Yes, I think that's...
Right?
I think our target is 65. Right now we have 68 on our A list, and our B list has about 10 or 11. Weddings and learning are all about boundaries and setting boundaries, whether it's your budget, your guest count. Another way that you have to consider drawing a boundary or a line is who gets a +1 and who doesn't.
My +1 pie chart is family. Family gets +1, obviously.
Like single family members?
Yeah, brother, sister, close cousins, uncle, aunts, so on. And then you got your like close friend, you know that they have a +1. Then I put the coworker category. You can kind of decipher and hand out a single invite. Some people's close friends are coworkers. So you have to bump a close coworker friend down into the close friend category.
Wouldn't they be bumped up, not down?
No. If you're a coworker,
why are coworkers up here and close friends down
because coworkers are it goes family, close friends, coworkers. I feel like are like the 3 categories of invites, right?
Okay, but wouldn't your family be at the top, not the bottom?
Well, the top. I mean, this is the top.
Okay.
So family, close friends, coworkers. The people that would get a single would have to come out of the bottom category, correct? Like you're not going to give your uncle, who you know is married to your aunt.
Well, duh. Duh, but if it's your uncle...
Unless you hate her, then maybe.
Oh, Jesus. But if it's your uncle who is single and has 10 girlfriends, he doesn't need a +1.
For me, everybody would get a +1 for the most part anyways. I'm just trying to categorize.
That's one way, I guess, of organizing it and deciding who gets a +1 or not. Another thing that I've seen on these like wedding planning groups and forums is that you do it by relationship status. So people who are married, automatic +1. People who have been in a long-term relationship and live with their partner, automatic +1. People who have been dating someone, and I've seen this for 6 months or longer, or at least a year or longer, they get a +1. If you've been dating someone for 5.5 months, you don't get a +1.
Kind of what I'm saying. So if you know them well enough to know their relationship status, they would probably be in the middle category-ish. For a bigger wedding, I feel like there is a group in here of invites going to like more of a lower level acquaintance in business, whatever invites, where you may not know their relationship status at all.
Okay,
what I'm saying.
That brings up another point though. Do you guys think that if you don't know this person well enough to know their relationship status, or they're just a business relationship, that they should even be invited to your wedding? Let us know what your rules are for +1s.
What if they're seeing multiple people?
Do they know about each other?
Is +2s and +3s, is that anything? I might know a few.
That calls for unnecessary drama, and I would not want to invite that to our wedding day. So, that being said, from a guest perspective, what if you maybe thought that you would be invited to somebody's wedding, thought that you were close enough to earn an invitation, and they did not invite you? How would you feel?
I would be relieved not to be invited to a wedding, I mean, unless it was like my brother's wedding. But if it was just like friend or business coworker or whatnot, I would be perfectly okay
Not
in a
being
lot of
invited.
situations not being invited. As you get older, sometimes you just don't want to go out and do anything. You just want to stay home
Feel
all the
that.
time. You know, I get an invitation. They
Okay.
sent me a bill. They said, "Hey, you owe me $200."
What do you mean?
For some reason, I thought that was the common situation. It used to be $150 a head, and then now it's $200.
What he's referring to is the
Cash.
you pay your plate.
Cash gift.
In
yeah.
gift.
You don't give a real gift, you give the cash. And it's essentially to help pay back for them to pay for the wedding. So pay for your plate, basically.
I mean, it makes sense.
If
Standard.
me and you went to a wedding together for like a friend of mine, it's $300. We're throwing $300 in that envelope. Maybe $400 if they're a good friend.
Very good friend.
A little bonus question.
Uh-oh.
I never RSVP ever in my life when I get it. It always gets to the point where they have to like send me a text and be like, "Hey, you coming to the wedding?"
I wouldn't even send text. If you don't RSVP, you're not coming. You're not allowed in.
I know that we don't got a lot of guys watching this, but I'm sure it's pretty similar with most guys.
Yeah, sound off on that. Let us know.
No, I remember about it, but
I find that hard to believe. You never remember dates that are not to do with your bands.
Well, depends what it is, but I feel like a single guy isn't good at RSVPing for weddings.
Weaponized incompetence. At the end of the day, cutting your guest list is like the number one way to save money on your wedding. Elope. Go to the courthouse. Pretty much.
We live across the street from the
It's
courthouse.
literally right there.
Still an option.
Let's get into our polls that we did this week.
First one was perfect amount of guests.
And the most common answer was between 100 and 200 guests, which I think is a good average for if you're just doing a one wedding.
Who gets a +1, everyone, or certain circumstances only?
Everyone gets a +1 who won this one.
Do you invite coworkers?
Some actually won.
People you haven't talked to much or hung out with in the past year?
Yes. So in the poll, people said no, they are no longer, they said they are no longer close enough to be invited.
If you were invited to their wedding, do you have to invite them to your wedding?
The winner actually was not necessarily.
Do you keep to a very strict guest count or do you allow flexibility?
So flexibility won the poll, but I think I have to disagree. Just as someone who's in this process and who sees how much the guest count influences every aspect. On top of that, every venue is different. There are a lot of venues who will say you must meet this minimum, you cannot exceed this maximum. So you really don't have the option to be flexible in those situations.
All right, that's a wrap on this one.
Thanks for watching our Wedding Wednesday episode. Hope you enjoyed it, and let us know your thoughts on everything we talked about. I think there are a lot of good points made and lots of discussion topics, so let us know.
Please feel free to continue criticizing my points in the comments.
Okay, I'm doing something super exciting today. I'm on my way to a little store that some of you might have heard of.